So, I have been on vacation for this past, how long have I been on vacation? It's been almost a week. Pretty close to a week. So I'm actually surprised I haven't watched more, and I guess there's a couple simple reasons for that. First of all, Christmas, I was in and out of my place a whole lot, so I only got enough time to be here to watch some anime DVDs pretty much in the afternoon while I was cooking and in the evening while I was doing something else. I've spent time rewatching a couple stuff with friends. I guess I did watch Futurama Volume 6, which had its interesting and meh parts, which could be why some people think that it's maybe not as good of a season as the previous ones, but oh well. That's not anime. That's over with. Quick. So, of the anime I did watch that I'm going to mention, because I'm not going to talk about the One Piece that I rewatched. Let's see. First of all, I watched Heaven's Lost Property. That one wasn't too hard to just get through. I think I put off watching that for a little while. I slowed down because I was expecting company over and I was expecting it to be a little bit more perverted than it ended up being. It was still up there, but not totally bad. Let's see. And I watched Heaven's Lost Property, of course, because I'm saying here that I watched it. And it was okay series. Kind of aiding on that note where I don't really like anime that kind of justify violence against males. In this case, he's a really perverted person, and I do think something needs to be done, but I don't think somebody walking into his room in the morning to wake him up and then hitting him because he has morning wood, that sounds to me like demonizing male sexuality, and that's not a very nice thing to do. So, on the other hand, it did some interesting things. I've never seen panties fly like that before, so it's kind of a mix in that way. I am curious what happens in the second season, though, and the OVA, well, it was more just an episode that happened after the ending of the final episode, I guess. Which is to say, it was actually, just interesting like the rest of it was, and I think, even though I'm really insulted by a lot of this stuff, I assume the majority of people are not, and if you're the kind of person who To Love Ru and stuff like that, you'd probably find Heaven's Lost Property right up your alley, I think. I could be mistaken, but that's my guess. Let's see. I watched Naruto Shippuden movie 2, and that one was kind of a mix. On the one hand, some of it felt contrived, like this movie story just got kind of wedged in there, sort of. Which doesn't surprise me. I could have even been feeling that just because I expected it to be like that. I mean, they kind of they were looking for an excuse to kind of get Naruto and Sasuke to meet for this movie, I suppose. Even though that isn't really what it's about per se. Although, at the same time, even though the actual physical event of the meeting isn't what the movie's about, the thing that was actually overall interesting about it is that's kind of what it was about. More along the lines of, Naruto, he looks like an idiot doing some of his stuff. It's like, well, how is he going to do this without resorting to the Nine Tails power? And the truth of the matter is he didn't completely avoid that, but you could see some of what actually makes him an inspirational character that's actually pretty cool. That's not Nine Tails stuff, but I really like that too. And that was what was really good about Bonds, in my opinion. Again, some of it felt strange, sudden, unexplained. And watching it, I couldn't help but think that they kind of glossed over some stuff, where if it had been in the series, this movie, instead of taking the equivalent of 4 episodes of time, perhaps, probably would have taken 16 episodes, even in Shippuden where things are moving somewhat faster. But guess overall I can't overall complain about it. At the same time, there's this feeling like something's out of place, and I'm not entirely sure if it's just the wedge thing or if there's more to it. So it's a strange combination of things. Don't know what to make of it overall. Let's see. I watched Modern Magic Made Simple. This was another reason why some of the anime watching in my free time didn't get as watched as it could have been. Because Modern Magic Made Simple is a subtitled only anime, and I was expecting to do decorating, which would cause me to not be able to look at the TV as much or cooking, and I wasn't quite sure how easy I would be able to pay attention. And sometimes that varies from anime to anime, and I kept putting off Modern Magic Made Simple, intending to do something else until I finally started, and it all just kind of worked out. So the way Modern Magic Made Simple works is kind of backwards in terms of series and the OVA compared to a lot of other stuff, where the one side OVA is actually episode 0, where before everything happens. Well, not actually before everything happens, because the timeline over which they tell things are a little mixed up. But the basic idea is that episode 0 takes place sometime chronologically in the middle of events, but was shown on television before the series was, so that's why it's called episode 0, and this TV series is 1 through 12, I think. And I have to tell you, it was actually really confusing watching episode 0 and then episode 1, which begins with a lolly version of one of the characters and the other character looking kind of the same but just dressed differently, and names being confused, and it's like, so is this a different setup or what? And that's actually explained much better, because it turns out that it is all one story, and it's all explained better, and it's an important, the confusion is kind of intentionally set up maybe, but it's important to the series overall. And I don't know if I really want to say what it is, because that could be spoilerific, but needless to say, it all worked out together in the end, and it turned out to actually be a pretty appropriate thing to watch on Christmas Eve, since there was a lot of events going on in there that were Christmas related. Specifically, one important date in this show takes place on Christmas Eve, and also includes a couple of other Christmassy references. So yeah, I unintentionally watched something Christmassy on Christmas Eve, which was not my intention, so that worked out pretty fun. Let's see, how did it end? I thought it actually ended pretty appropriately. It felt just a bit rushed, like as they started coming closer to the end, they introduced 1 or 2 concepts that were only ever briefly used and weren't as critical to everything as they really should have been. So it felt a little rushed in that regard, but surprisingly enough, the way it ended was fine. I'm not sure if, I'm assuming there was an original manga version. I'm not sure how that one ended, or if that one even ended, but anyways, okay. Maybe not spectacular, but it could be fleshed out more. And let's see, I was probably also going to comment that some of the music was very strange and interesting. It reminds me of something else, but I can't think what. And because I can't remember what, I guess I can't comment on it, so I'll just mention that was some interesting music. Anyways, after that, I started watching Pilot Candidate, which is also known as Candidate for Goddess, and that one was very strange as well. I kind of have trouble still wrapping my head around the opening, which doesn't sound like an anime opening. It sounds more like background music from a movie, maybe a comedy movie where all the characters go to Los Angeles or something. Las Vegas, I think. I don't know. And I don't know how to explain it. The series itself feels like I might have missed some of the purpose, but I was kind of waiting for it to explain the things that the characters were trying to understand, and it kind of ended on a sort of critical review without revealing as much as we needed to. So I can't help but think that maybe only half of it got made or something. I'd like to compare it to the first half of Delphia of the Universe, but really, it's more like the first quarter of it almost. Where it's like by Stelvia's halfway point, it had more relevance to it. I talk about it because there's something about the two that that are just very similar, which are about, well, flawed main characters. Kind of, well, Pilot Candidate didn't set up its main character as completely flawed, just subtle enough where we wouldn't know. Whereas Stelvia of the Universe is set her up so that she was skilled in one area, but maybe not skilled in any others, and this question of whether or not she'd be able to augment the other areas with her known skill. That one was clever, and that one had relevance as it went along, and that one was nice. Oh, but the relevance between Delphia and Pilot Candidate, of course, is that they're both about people training to pilot spaceships in a space academy sort of setting. But yeah, Pilot Candidate just felt incomplete. Like, there could have been more information. It probably should have been a 24-episode series. And it isn't, so we can't do that, so, well. And then after that, it was a matter of, well, I didn't want to be in the middle of watching anything too important when I had company over today, so I started watching Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. So I just watched the 5th DVD of the 10th season, I think is what I'm watching, which is episodes 35 to 42, if I'm remembering right. Not much to comment on about there, other than it was interesting to see Cynthia, and it was interesting to see Gardenia again. She was, of course, amusing. Not as amusing as when we first met her, because, you know, they're like, we gotta really introduce her eccentricities, but yeah, still okay, still good. But not much else I can think to comment on at the moment. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've watched this past week. So I guess I can't really say for certain whether or not this next week will have a lot of watched or not, because, you know, I've got the rest of the week vacation, and that vacation ends on Tuesday, so a week from today when I do my next anime DVD update, which will be then later at night, unless of course I put off processing these videos, which I don't intend to. But anyways, I'm babbling. The basic idea is we'll have to see what I do, because I might also, now that I've got all the game consoles set up, play some video games. Maybe I could do some video capturing stuff just to make sure all that stuff is working. I don't know. But yeah, I'll figure that out.